Hello everyone, my name is Unpudar. So today I am going to discuss about unit number 4 input output organization lecture number 28. The contents that we are going to discuss in this video is about peripheral component interconnect bus, or it's also called as a PCI bus. Now the PCI bus supports the functions found on a processor bus in a standardized format independent of any particular processor. This which means that the PCI bus can have multiple number of functions found on a processor bus, and it will be independent of any processor. It may be any processor. The devices which are connected to the PCI bus appear to the processor are like they are connected directly to the processor bus. Also, they are assigned addresses in the memory address space of the processor. So, whichever devices which are connected to a PCI bus, which will appear to the processor, they are like they are connected directly to a processor bus. Also, each of these PCI bus contains it contains assigned addresses in the memory address space of the processor. The PCI follows the sequence of bus standards that were primarily in IBM PC. So there are a number of standards that are required in IBM PCs. Later, the 16-bit bus used on the PC and computer, also known as ICA bus. Its extended 32-bit version is also known as ISA bus. Now, the PCI was developed as a low-cost bus that is truly processor independent. After a decade, PCI became popular industry standard. An important feature is that PCI is a plug-and-play capability for connecting input-output devices. That is, to connect a new device, the user simply connects the device interface on the board. So the software takes care of the rest. Now, how the data transfer takes place in PCI bus? So, when the processor specifies an address and request a read operation from the main memory. So if a processor wants to have a read operation from a given address from the main memory, so the main memory will respond by sending a sequence of data words starting at that address. Now similarly, during a write operation, during read operation, we will start reading data starting from that memory address. As I told, PCI buses will contain memory address assigned in the processor. But during a write operation, the processor sends the memory address followed by a sequence of data words to be written in successive memory locations starting at that address. So there is a difference between read and write operation. So during write operation, the processor will send a number of data words. That is, it sends a memory address followed by a sequence of data words. So each memory address and each data word which is to be written in at that successive memory location starting at that address. Now the bus supports three independent address spaces: the memory, input, output, and configuration. Now the input output address space is intended for use with processors such as Pentium. The configuration space is intended to give the PCI its plug and play capability. A 4-bit command along with the address identifies which of the three spaces is used in a given data transfer operation. Here is a diagram that shows the interconnection with the devices with the PCI bus and main memory. Now the PCI bridge provides a separate physical connection from the main memory. As you can see, here is a separate connection with the main memory. So at any one time, one bus will act as a bus master. Okay, so any one of the device acts as a bus master. It has a right to initiate data transfer by issuing read and write commands. So either the disk, printer, or Ethernet interface, either one of them acts as a bus master. So the master is called as initiator in PCI bus. So it is either a processor or a DMA controller. So the address device that responds to read and write commands is called as a target. So it may be either disk, printer, or Ethernet. Now the main signal used for transferring data are listed below. So as you can see, these are the signal received in the PCI bus. Okay, so there is the CLK frame signal, AD signal, ID dev cell, and ID cell. Now signal name whose name ends with the symbol hash. So here you are seeing the names, that is the name of the signal which are ending with the symbol hash, are asserted when in the low voltage state. So these signals are called only when in the low voltage states. The complete transfer operation on the bus involving address and burst of data is called as transaction. So whatever the transfer of operation takes place in the bus involving both, that is the address and burst of data, is called as transaction. But when you go individual word transfer within a transaction, it's called as a phase. So the difference here is, when you have a complete transfer of data, it is called as transaction in a bus, whereas individual word transfer in a bus or within the transaction is called as phases. Now here is a timing diagram. The clock signal provides the timing reference used to coordinate different phases of transaction. So all signal transitions are triggered by rising edge of the clock. So at rising edge of the clock, all signal transition takes place. Now in clock cycle 1, as you can see here, the processor asserts frame signal. So at the first clock cycle, as you can see here, as I told, all the signal transitions are triggered by the rising edge of the clock. So at the rising edge of clock, frame signal is initiated. It is the beginning of a transaction. So at the same time, it sends the address on the AD lines and a command on the CB lines is given. This command will indicate that a read operation is requested and that a memory address space is used. So in the PCI, as you know, the command for read operation, it sends the data as well as the memory address space. And the clock cycle 2 is used to turn the AD bus lines around. So the processor removes the address and disconnects the driver from the AD lines. Why this is recorded? Because clock 2 cycle has been initiated. So it removes the address and disconnects the driver from the AD lines, because clock 2 cycle has been started. Now selected target assets dev cell, okay, and it maintains it in the asserted state until the end of the transactions. Now during clock cycle 3, as you can see here, the rising edge, the initiator assets the initiator ready signal. So the initiate ready signal will be asserted. So what it indicates that it is ready to receive the data. So if the target has data ready to send at this time, it asserts target ready. So TRDY hash n sends a word of data. So if it is ready, it sends a signal TRDY word of data. Now the initiator loads the data into the input buffer at the end of the clock. So at the end of third clock, it loads the data into input buffer. The target sends 3 more words of data in clock cycle 4 to 6. In 4 to 6, it again sends 3 bytes of data. So after sending fourth word in clock cycle 6, as you can see here, the target disconnects the driver and negates dev cell. So in dev cell, at the beginning of the 7th cycle, so it will get negative. That is, it becomes, first it was at the down, now it has the rising edge. In cycle 8, it sends the fourth word. Okay, so at cycle 8, it sends the fourth word and asserts TRDY. So again TRDY signal is activated. Frame hash was negated with the third data word, as you can see here. So transaction ends after fourth word has been transferred. Now here we see what is more general input operation. So it shows how IDY and TRDY signals can be used for initiator and target. So the first 2 words are transferred, as you can see here. The target sends the third word in cycle number 5. So at cycle number 5, it sends the third word. The initiator is unable to receive it and negates IDY. So at the third cycle, it will negate the IDY signal. So in response, the target maintains the third word on the AD lines used until IDY is asserted again. Now in cycle 6, you can see here, in cycle 6, the initiator asserts IDY again, loads the data into input buffer at the end of the clock cycle. So at this point, the target is not ready to transfer the fourth word immediately. So it again negates the TRDY at the beginning of cycle 1. So in cycle 8, it again sends the fourth data and asserts TRDY. So the frame was negative with the third data word. So the transaction ends after fourth data has been transferred. Now let us go to what is device configuration. So in PCI, each input-output device interface contains a small configuration ROM stores, which called ROMs. So it stores the information about the device and all devices that are accessible in the configuration address space. The PCI initialization software reads these ROMs whenever system is powered up or set. So what it means is the peripheral component interface installation has a software which is going to read this read-only memories whenever the system is powered up or reset. It determines whether the device is a printer, keyboard, an Ethernet device or a disk control. So it also can identify which devices it is going to make a data transfer. You can further learn about various device options and characteristics. Devices are assigned addresses using the initialization process. So each device has an inputting signal called initialization device select. This IDSL. So during a configuration, this signal causes the device to be selected. Now the motherboard contains plug devices connected as IDSL pin. For each device is connected upper 21 address lines AD11 to AD31. So device can be selected for a configuration by issuing a configuration command. So which of the device is selected depends on the IDCL operation. Now an address in which corresponding AD line is set to 1 and the remaining 20 lines are set to 0. Lower addresses, that is AD10 to AD02, are used to specify the type of operation and to access the contents of the device configuration. This arrangement is limited to 21 input-output devices. Now in this video we have discussed about data transfer in PCI bus, device configuration. Thank you.